Hello everybody and welcome to today's presentation of our webinar series. This week we're going to go ahead and be reviewing the information as it pertains to the Merit-Based Incentive Payment Program, or Mips as it's been referred to. This is going to be a brand new program that is going to be replacing Meaningful Use and PQRS and a couple of other programs starting in 2017. So we'll go ahead and get started on reviewing some of the information that you will need to know to get this program started. We're going to be reviewing the Quality Payment Program as it stands, the Mips, or Merit-Based Incentive Payment System. Something that, again, you guys will be hearing a lot of starting at the end of this year and past 2017. We're going to discuss how this relates to PQRS and Meaningful Use, which are two of the most common programs that are out there that providers are using, and of course these steps for 2017 and going forward. So let's take a look at the Quality Payment Program itself. Now, the Medicare payment prior to the Macra, which Macra is its new program. Macra is the one that's taking the place of the current program. So prior to Macra, the Quality Payment Program was based off of a fee for service payment system, where clinicians were paid based off of the volume of services, not necessarily the value of what they were giving. This was based off of what they referred to as the sustainable growth rate, or the SGR. Well, the Macra program is going to replace the SGR completely with what they refer to as a more predictable payment method that incentivizes value as opposed to just volume. The problem with the SGR is each year Congress had to pass what they referred to as doc fixes to avert cuts in payments to providers each and every year. One example of these fixes, if no fix was implemented in 2015, it would have meant a 21% cut in Medicare payments to its clinicians. So from the get-go, they realized that it was a faulty program, so therefore have modified it into this Macra program to get those payments more stabilized. The Quality Payment Program, this is going to repeal the sustainable growth rate as mentioned prior. So the sustainable growth rate formula, it's going bye-bye. It's going to streamline multiple quality reporting programs into a new merit-based incentive payment program, and that's where the Mips comes in. Mips, again, I just want to stress that refers to the merit-based incentive payment program. Now, this provides incentive payments for participants in advanced alternative payment models that are referred to as APMs. Most providers during the first years will fall under the Mips program itself, or the merit-based incentive payment system. And therefore, that's going to be the primary focus of what we're going to be going over today, which is the requirements for Mips and what the program is going to entail. So looking forward to Mips. Mips is a completely new program. It's going to streamline 3 currently independent programs. And they're all going to come together and they're going to work as one, and that's to ease the clinician burden. Those 3 programs that it's going to bring together is the Physician Quality Reporting Program, referred to as the PQRS, the value-based payment modifiers that providers are using with their claims, and the Medicare Electronic Health Record Incentive Program, or the EHR Incentive Program, that most people know as Meaningful Use. It's taking these 3 programs and bringing them all together as one under the Mips. Now, this also is going to add a 4th component to promote ongoing improvement and innovation to clinical activities. So you're going to have, it's going to be split into 4 sections: quality, resource use, clinical practice improvement, and advancing care information. Taking those 3 programs, adding a 4th one, and you have the 4 parts that make up the Mips program. Who will participate in Mips? Effective clinicians are now called Mips eligible clinicians, as opposed to eligible providers is what they referred to them from the years past. And they will participate in the Mips. So Mips eligible clinicians, of course, will participate in the Mips. The types of Medicare Part B eligible clinicians affected by Mips may expand in future use. So they're just going to kind of get started with the primary physicians first, and then they will be adding different individuals that must go into that in the future. Example of that is year 1 and 2. That's going to, year 1 and 2 are going to include all physicians. That includes MDs, DOs, DMDs, DDSs, etc. Any PAs, nurse practitioners, clinical nurse specialists, and of course the certified nurse anesthetist. Those are all going to be part of the year 1 and year 2. They're going to have to be part of the program. In years 3 on, then we're going to start to incorporate physical or occupational therapists, speak language pathologists, nurse midwives, audiologists, and so on. So the program will expand as it grows. Who will not participate in Mips? Well, there are 3 groups of clinicians who will not be subject to the Mips. First one being the first year of Medicare Part B participants will not participate in Mips. If you are below the patient volume threshold, which they've set at a fewer than 100 patients, or if your billing charges is less than $10,000 for the year, you will be exempt from you will not have to participate in the Mips program. And then, of course, if you're already participating in advanced APM, you will not have to participate in the Mips. One word of note, currently Mips does not apply to hospitals or facilities. Here's a quick visual of what the Mips timeline is that they are looking at. If you are familiar with meaningful use, these timelines are pretty much no different than what you're used to seeing. You have the first year, which in this case is going to be 2017. That's what they're going to refer to as the performance period, and currently it's a full year, January through December. That's the year that you're going to gather all your information, you're going to do what you need to do in the system, and then in 2018 you're going to report that information. You're going to attest the same way that you were with meaningful use. You're going to report the data. The CMS is going to process that data, and then there will be adjustments that are into effect in 2019. Now, one difference between this and meaningful use is this is now based off of a adjustment as opposed to an incentive payment. Those familiar with PQRS and meaningful use in the past, you would attest, you'd submit your information, and then you'd get a lump sum of money if you were eligible for a incentive a few weeks later. If you were subject to a penalty, that penalty would come on the 2nd year, the same way that it's doing now. However, the big difference here is instead of receiving that lump sum payment, you're going to either have a positive or negative adjustment in the 2nd year. So again, you're going to report your information for 2017 at the beginning of 2018, and then your adjustment, whether it be positive or negative, is going to be implemented based off of your claims in 2019. As it continues on, in 2018's numbers will be reported in 2019, and your adjustments will be in 2020, and so on and so on. Now, how much can Mips adjust your payments? Currently, the first year it could be 4% plus or minus. And clinicians will receive a plus or minus, or it could be neutral payment adjustment up to the percentages below. The potential max adjustment will increase each year from 2019 to through 2022. So first year, you're going to report your information, and in 2019 you can get an adjustment of plus or minus 4%, then 5%, 7%, 9%, and it'll be 9% going forward. Now this could be up to the 4% plus or minus. So the way that this is going to work is based off of the numbers that CMS decides on. Then if you meet just the bare minimum and just do minimum what you need to do, then you could walk away with just a neutral payment. You know, you don't get anything plus or anything minus. But if you do everything above and beyond what you're required to do, or you're meeting 100% of what they ask you, then you can get a 4% or more adjustment positive. If you do not meet their requirements, and depending on how bad you miss their passing grade, you could get a negative deduction of 4% for the first year. So it could fall anywhere within that plus or minus 4%, depending on what the information that they adjust. Now, the eligible clinicians, just like meaningful use, there is the option to report based off of an individual, or you can report as a group, and a group is defined by the taxpayer identification number for that group. Just like your meaningful use in the past, you can do group or you can do individual. Now, the Mips performance categories, I went over it briefly, but I'm going to go in more detail on that now. A single Mips composite performance score, or CPS, will factor in performance in 4 weighted performance categories on a 0 to 100 point scale. The quality measure is going to make up 50% of your score. The resource use will make up 10% of your score. Clinical will be 15, and the advancing care will be 25. Add all those together and you get your Mips composite performance score, or your CPS. It's very important that you guys realize which ones of these are going to hold the most weight, which quality being the most, followed by advancing, clinical, and then resource use. So you add all those together, very similar to like an SAT score, where you have the math, verbal, all of that, and you combine it together and you have your total score. That's kind of what they're doing here. They're having 4 different sections. You add all those sections together, and based off of what they're weighted on, you're going to have your final composite performance score. So let's take a look at each category individually. First, we'll take a look at the quality performance category. Now, the quality performance category is going to be taking the place of the PQRS. So you're going to select 6 measures. 1 must be cross-cutting measure, and 1 must be outcome measure, or another high priority measure if outcome is unavailable. You must select from individual measures or specialty measures, and population measures automatically calculated. Now, as I mentioned, this replaces the PQRS. So for those providers that are already participating in PQRS, this becomes a reprieve for you, because we're reducing it from 9 measures to 6 measures with no domain requirement. Okay, so you're just going to continue to do the same thing that you're doing, just you're reducing that number from 9 to 6. This is weighted at 50%. So again, this is the quality measure, so the bulk of your Mips score is going to be based off of your PQRS. For those that are only doing MU and not doing PQRS, you will have to add something additionally on there for you guys, but it will not be that difficult, and this actually replaces the NQFs that you guys are currently doing with meaningful use as it stands right now. So it actually becomes a little bit easier, again, dropping those measures from 9 to 6 and basing them off of PQRS standards. Next is the resource use or performance category. This is the assessment under all available resources use measures as applicable to the clinician. The CMS calculates this based off of claims. So this is all claim-based. This is, again, exactly what you guys were doing in the past, so there's no reporting requirement for this, and this makes up 10% of your score. This is what they've referred to in the past as the value modifiers, okay? So there's going to be no attestations here, there's going to be no registries. This is all just based off of the claims that you're already submitting based off of the CPTs that are being used. Now we have the clinical practice improvement activities, and this is that new one that they're referring to. Okay, so this one is weighted at 15%. There's no applicable old program because this is a completely new category. So this one we will pay close attention to in the future, and as they release more information related to what they want you to do with this clinical practice improvement activity, we as a company will disseminate that information to you guys as they provide it to us. Because this is a new program, the information that we have is limited and is based off of the final ruling of CMS, but it is going to be weighted at 15%, minimum selection of one clinical practice improvement activity. They're going to have over 90 proposed activities, and you will get additional credit the more you choose. So this is one of those ones that you can help get you that extra credit and get those percentages up from your total score. Next, we have the advancing care information performance category. In the advancing care information category, this is based off of key measures of patient engagement information, flexible scoring for all measures for coordination of better. The advancing care information is what's going to replace your meaningful use or your EHR incentive program. Okay, so to replace an EHR incentive program, one of my favorite aspects of this new program is it's going to drop what they refer to as the all or nothing threshold for this measure. Okay, now this one is weighted at 25% of your score. So this is, in the past, if any of you are familiar with meaningful use currently has 9 measures that you have to, 9 clinical measures that you have to meet, and if you miss one of them, you're out. Okay, you could be perfect on 8 of them, but if you miss one, you're out of the program, too bad. This kind of drops that all or nothing. So this is going based off of the points you're going to get for each one that you do. So as long as you do the ones that are worth enough points, you can still break even or get a higher score based off of that. Now it is also going to remove the redundant measures to alleviate burden reporting. So they're going to eliminate the CDS objective, and they're going to eliminate the provider entry one. So it's going to eliminate CL21. It's going to eliminate CL3 as it currently stands right now. So it's going to kind of help, again, reducing the amount of measures you have to report to. It's also going to reduce the number of required public health registries that the clinicians have to report to as well, too. Again, helping our providers make the attestations a little bit easier. So again, you guys that are doing meaningful use only, you get a little bit of reprieve on the meaningful use stuff, but you got to pick up the PQRS. Those that are doing PQRS and meaningful use, both programs become a little bit easier, but they're just combined into one. Again, this is going to make up 25% of your total score. Here's a quick visual of the breakdown of those scores and a little summary for the Mips performance categories. Again, we have the quality, the advancing care, the clinical practice, which is that new one, and then the cost, which that one is the claims-based reporting. So you can see the 80 to 90 points, depending on the size of the group, going to make up 50%. Advancing care, that's your meaningful use, that's going to be 100 points, can make up 25% of your score, and then so on and so on. So they've not announced what the final point totals are going to be as of yet, as far as what's going to qualify you for the percentage of payments, but as soon as that information is out, we'll let you know as well. So how do they calculate the composite performance score for Mips? Well, as I mentioned. Mips composite performance score methods account for the weights of each performance category based off of their percentage. You can also have what's called exceptional performance factors, and that's what you guys are going to want to strive for, is these exceptional performance factors. The availability of applicable measures in different categories for clinicians, group performance, and special circumstances for small practices. How are you going to submit the data? Well, the data is going to be kind of submitted the same thing that what you're used to doing right now. For quality or that PQRS stuff, you're going to either go through the registry, or you're going to do it with the claim-based style or the registry. Okay, same way that you're doing the PQRS currently. For resource, and you don't have to do anything because that goes through your claims. There's no submission required for the resource use. That's all based off of the CPTs that you're using. The advancing care, that's going to be either done through the goes into effect the first year is 2017, so it's just coming up here in several months. And that's going to affect your payment year of 2019. Okay, so again, I want to stress this to you guys. There's none of that attesting and getting money a few weeks later. It's going to be more in line with the penalties. So you're going to gather your information in 2017, report the information at the beginning of 2018, and then your adjustments, whether it be positive or negative, are going to be coming on the second year. That's going to continue on through the years that the program exists. Mips eligible condition payment adjustment percentage, so basically a fancy way of saying what you're going to get plus or minus on the relationship between the composite performance score and the Mips performance threshold. So again, what they determine to be the cutoff. A CPS below the performance threshold will yield a negative adjustment. A CPS performance above the threshold will yield a neutral or positive payment adjustment, depending on what they say. A CPS less than or equal to 25% of the threshold will yield a maximum negative adjustment of 4%. So they cannot penalize you more than 4% for the first year. But again, those percentages will go up in the future. This is a strictly speaking first year. A CPS that falls at or above the threshold will yield a payment adjustment of 0 to 12% based on the degree in which the CPS exceeds threshold. So this is what I was talking about, those extra credit that you can do and those extra measures that you can meet. So your goal in this is always to get the highest score possible, because what they're going to allow you to do is get above and beyond points up to 12% the first year. However, the additional bonus cannot exceed 10%. The bonus cannot exceed 10%, which is why it doesn't go up to 14, and will be applied to payments to eligible clinicians with exceptional performance where CPS is equal to or greater than the additional performance threshold defined as the 25th percentile of possible values above the CPS. So those the top 25% will get these extra bonuses. Here's an example of what those fancy words were saying. So Dr. Joy, who received a 4% adjustment, so she did everything that she was supposed to. Great job, Dr. Joy Smith. And she got the 4% adjustment for Mips. Now, she could also receive up to 12% in 2019 for those exceptional performance factors that she earned an additional adjustment factor of up to 10%. So she got that extra bonus on there. Now, this scaling will only apply to positive adjustments. So it's not like they look at you and say, okay, you did really, really bad, so now we're gonna penalize you even more. No, the negative ones will still only adjust to the 4%. You cannot get an exceptional negative performance and have it adjust more than the 4%. So the main takeaway points for this, the quality payment program changes the way the Medicare pays clinicians. So we're moving away from that sustainable growth rate into this Macra program. And it offers financial incentives for providing high value of care, not necessarily volume. Medicare Part B clinicians will be the ones participating in the Mips unless they are currently a first-year Part B participant, or they already have an advanced APM, or they have a very low patient volume. Payment adjustments and bonuses will begin in 2019. But again, the payment adjustments will begin in 2019. The gathering of the information is going to start in 2017. A couple of quick resources for you guys, because this is a CMS driven program. It is not our program, it is CMS's program. They are the ones that make the rules. So my advice to you as individuals is to definitely leverage the CMS website as a resource. You can go to the cms.gov under the Quality Payment Program section, and they have a ton of resources there available to you, including their own versions of the PDF slides for their in-house webinars that they did. Their webinars, pretty much you can get the gist of their information from the PDF slides, but if you do want to review some videos from their webinars, I highly recommend that you skip forward to the Q&A sections. There's a lot of good information that's given out during the Q&A sessions, even though they defer a lot of it until after the finalization of the program. But again, great resource to use for the cms.gov. Okay, I want to thank everybody for their time on this Friday. And at this time, if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer those for you here. So we'll give a few moments for any questions to come in. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions currently at the moment, but again, if you have any anything that comes to your mind in the future, please reach out to your account managers accordingly, or feel free to reach out to our support lines are available to you as well through Meditab. I want to thank you so much for your time today. And I have one question that I want to answer real quick. Will the providers need certified EMR to qualify for the MIPS payment? Yes, the EHR is still going to need to be qualified. We are for the different programs, so we are PQRS certified and we are meaningful use certified, but your EHR will still need to be certified. Yes. For the registries, we have a question about how do you report using the QCDR. Basically, there are files that we can generate through IMS that can be uploaded to that QCDR. Your account managers can help you with that information. Our support can walk you through those processes and those times on there. As far as how to report to the QCDR, but basically we export a file and that goes up into there. There's a question that asks, can you opt out of the program and still be considered doing the PQRS but not the MU? Unfortunately, no. They are doing away with the PQRS and meaningful use as separate programs, and those are coming together as one. So there's no longer one or the other. It's going to be, they're all going to be part of this new Macra program, this new MIPS, so you are going to have to do it. Now, with that being said, though, do recall that there are different percentages, and I'm going to jump back to my slides here to the percentages. There are different percentages of each one that you need to do. The PQRS is going to be 50% of your score, with the other ones being, making up more. If you don't do the meaningful use completely, you're going to have a score of 75 if you max out everything else. You have a score of 75%. Because CMS has not told me what the thresholds are going to be, you're taking a big risk by not doing the meaningful use, by assuming that the 75% is going to be a passing score. So you will still have to do that. How do you attest? Yeah, the attestations are going to be, as far as I'm concerned right now, the attestation is going to be the same. You're still going to gather the information submitted on there through the respective websites for attestation. Just those scores are now going to be combined into one complete one. We have a question. What is the score to not be positive or negative 4%? So basically, what do you need to just break even there? They haven't released that information yet. The program is still being finalized, so we don't know exactly what the bare bones minimum you need to achieve as of yet. All they've given us is the percentage weights of each of those fields. As that information becomes available to you, then we will get that information to you. As far as I'm concerned, as of right now, there is currently no way to opt out of this program if you are a eligible provider under the CMS. Those first-year Medicare Part B providers are going to be exempt, and then if you take less than $10,000 or 100 patients of the Medicare, then you will be exempt from it as well too. Meditab will assist the same way that we've done in the past with attestations and reporting. We will be combining our PQRS and meaningful use teams to assist our clients accordingly with these measures. But if you are familiar with the processes in the past, then yes, we will be there still doing everything that we can to help you with gathering the meaningful use numbers, as well as assisting you with setting up the PQRS measures the same way that we've done in the past. What is the criteria to meet the measures for each category? Again, it's the same as it was in the past. So the PQRS, you still have your standards related to that. I do know that the meaningful use, though, is changing, because again, they dropped that all or nothing requirement. So there's no longer going to be that. They're going to have the 6 or 7 measures that they're going to release as the official. I'm going to refer to it as MU, but it's really the Advancing Care Information. They're going to release the measures they have for that, and then each measure will be weighted to combine the total score for that. But again, because the program is still under review, we don't know the exact weighted amounts as of yet. What's the criteria? Okay, we already answered that one. That one we already answered. They're planning to release this program because it's going to affect at the beginning of 2017. More information should be released at the end of this month, as far as what the requirements are going to be. I believe the cutoff time for submitting questions to them, if I'm not mistaken, was the first week of September. So they should be analyzing all that information and then extracting some type of finalized rule at the end of this month. But again, with CMS's timelines, I would have to defer to them as far as when they plan on officially releasing the information on there. Is there any specific extra setup or install work and time required for using the EHR vendor or QCDR options? There is a little bit more entailed to it. It's not much. It's not a huge setup on there, but there is some files and paths that need to be set for that for you. And your account manager can get you information on pricing related to the QCDR option that we have for PQRS. Okay, if you have any other questions for me, again, you could reach out to any member of our team or your account manager will be happy to answer those. It's been my pleasure assisting you today, and I want you all to have a great weekend. Thank you.